Hi everyone, welcome back to This Book Belongs to. I read 19 books in February. I did not make like a conscious decision to read that many books, but it happened and I'm really happy for it. But I'm also like controlling my expectations because I know that I can't read that many books every single month. So I'm just gonna take my wins and celebrate it. Because I have Storygraph, I thought it would be just fun to look at some of my book statistics for the month. Okay, like I said, I read a total of 19 books, and that is across 5,611 pages and 13.55 hours. I actually DNF'd one book. I listened to about 30% of this book and I decided to DNF it. This book is Spare by Prince Harry. I was just curious. Like, I never really cared for the royal family. I wasn't really super interested in it. But I just got curious about what this prince would write about. And it was okay. There were moments that were interesting, but overall I was just really bored. My top 3 moods is adventurous, emotional, and dark. That kind of checks out. The average rating is 3.62. I don't know, I just found this really interesting. So I'm gonna try and keep sharing my stats every single wrap up. I am gonna try and be as concise as I can about most of these books because I actually did film reading vlogs for a lot of them, so I will just link those vlogs in the description and also in the cards. The next 6 books that I'm gonna be talking about is part of a romance reading vlog that I did for, Valentine's Day kind of thing. I will link that in the description box below. So I started off the month, like I always do, with an L. Kennedy hockey romance. So this is The Score, which is the 3rd installment in the off-campus series. I love this book. I think that the dynamics and the relationship between Ali and Dean is just so good. It's very well developed. Individually, I love the characters as well. I love how generally confident Ali is and like self-aware. And Dean is just a very misunderstood but very interesting guy, and I love the development that they go through individually and as a couple. So I was really invested in their story, and this is definitely my favorite of the off-campus series. I love this one so much. I can see myself rereading this as like a comfort read of some sorts. I gave this one 4 stars. I definitely started off the month very strong. So yeah, that is The Score by L. Kennedy. The next book that I read is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. Now, this is a well-beloved book in the bookshop community, so I hesitate to say this, but I did not like it. Borderline, I kind of hated it. I just think that there was so much potential in it. Oh, I didn't even tell you what the book is about. So the book is about this guy named Dev. He is a handler for talents in a very big reality TV show, kind of like The Bachelor, if you merge it with like Disney princesses. And I just think that there's just a lot to be done with this premise because you can really juxtapose like the love that you see as portrayed in like TV and movies and whatever versus the kind of love that you actually really experience in real life, and how those two can be super different because of societal expectations and whatnot. There's just a lot that can be done here. The characters, the dialogue, the writing itself, the execution is lacking. I just did not feel anything for this book. I did not feel the butterflies. I wasn't rooting for any of the characters. I wasn't rooting for the relationship at all. And yeah, I just feel like everything was just, it had good bones, but it just didn't deliver. And also I had a little bit of a problem with the representation of a lot of things in this book. So interracial relationship, minorities, LGBTQIA+. I just felt like a lot of them were there just to check boxes and make the book like super duper extra inclusive. I just did not feel good reading this book, so I gave it 2 stars because honestly the premise was really good. There were moments in there that I enjoyed, but other than that, I did not like it. So I'm gonna move on because I don't want to talk about books that I don't like. The next book that I read is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. I listened to this in audiobook because I got sick at some point and I quite enjoyed it. It was wild in terms of the plot, like what happens in the book. It's wild. I'm not gonna say too much about the plot because I think it's best if you go in kind of blind. But the writing is so beautiful. It's very poetic in a way, and I love how Okeke Emezi describes the world. I love how the glass house was described, the nature, just the emotions of the characters. I love how everything was portrayed. It's quite difficult for me to immerse myself into things when I'm listening to it via audiobook, but this one I was really in it and I really enjoyed it. I gave this one 3.5 stars. The fourth book that I read is Annotation by Shirlene Ubobi. Now this one I found through Libby because I was just looking at available contemporary romance books since I was doing that romance reading vlog. And the line that got me hooked with this book, the line that made me want to read it is, "For fans of Grey's Anatomy." And I was like, add to my queue. I love Grey's Anatomy. I love how messy but at the same time reflective it is. So Annotation follows Angela. She is a Ghanaian American med student, I think at the time. Yeah, she's a med student at the time. She has her life sort of figured out already. She wants to become a doctor. She has like a lawyer boyfriend, all of those things. But one day everything comes crashing down because her boyfriend leaves her, and her scores for her step 1 exams, which is the most important exam for a med student because it kind of determines where you're going to do your, I believe, your internship. She doesn't get a great score, so everything just, falls apart for her on that day. And so she ends up crying in this garden in the middle of the city, and a guy comes up to her, asks her if she's okay, and then proceeds to ask if he could paint her. So that's sort of like the beginning of the book. And the thing that I really enjoyed about this is it did feel like Grey's Anatomy in the sense that there were a lot of like medical settings. So they were in the hospital because obviously she's doing her internship. So they were doing rounds on patients. They were talking about these different exams that you take as part of the program, the different rotations that you do. And I just really ate those up because I don't know, I love medical settings in terms of stories. I've always been super curious, so yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's not a perfect romance book, I think, because I just enjoyed everything so much and I could relate to Angela a lot in terms of what she's feeling, her loneliness and everything. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed my time reading it. And also, if you watch my reading vlog, you will see that the author is just very cheeky, very funny. She uses a lot of footnotes, and the footnotes are kind of like inside jokes between the author and you as the reader, and I just really enjoyed that. The author is also a doctor, so she knows what she's talking about in terms of all of this medicine stuff. So yeah, that is Annotation by Shirlene Ubobi. The next book that I read is actually a reread of Sorcerer of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is one of my favorite standalone fantasy books. It has like a novella sequel, but in terms of like the main story, it's a standalone. And I really enjoyed this one. Even though it's a reread, I really had a good time reading it, and I finally was able to tab it. And I just had so many good moments with this book. The yellow tabs are just funny moments, and I have so many of them because the dialogue is just so funny. Their characters are so witty. I really enjoyed diving back into this world. And after reading it, I still gave it 4.5 stars, which is the same rating when I first read it. So it's still good. I still love it. And the reason why I read this is because I also read Mysteries of Thorne Manor by Margaret Rogerson. It is the novella sequel, which follows sort of directly after the ending of Sorcerer of Thorns. And this is just a very cozy fantasy. We're just following them as they get stuck inside their manor because the wards, the magical wards that are in their house are sort of like misbehaving, and they're trying to get down to the root of it. And it's just super wholesome, super lovely. I just enjoyed diving back into the world. I gave it 4 stars. It's a very cozy, super lovely book, and yeah, honestly, I would just read every single book that Margaret Rogerson writes because I love everything that she has written so far, and definitely one of my instant read authors. That was the last book that I read for the romance reading vlog, so I'm gonna link that again below. The next book that I read is House of Salt and Sorrows. So this was actually supposed to be a video of its own. I bought this as like a blind book. Is that what it's called? Like a blind date book where it's wrapped and you don't know anything about it except maybe like the genre. I'm just gonna insert a clip here of me opening this one. This was pitched to me as a dark fantasy retelling, and I really love this one. It's classified as YA fantasy horror, and I don't think I've ever read anything like that before. And while I was reading it, I definitely got the horror vibes from it. It was just creepy and very eerie. Very quickly, we are following Anna Lee, which is one of the 12 sisters. Unfortunately, it seems like there is a curse. It seems like it because the sisters are dying one by one in like quick succession, and they've just been in a constant state of like grief in this castle. So Annalie sort of sets out to figure out what the heck is going on. I really loved it. I think the pacing was kind of weird. The first like 3/4 of the book was super slow. It like really marinated you into this world. They really did a good job at like building up the horror part and a little bit of the fantasy part, but I felt like the last quarter of the book was super rushed. Like the ending was super rushed, which is weird because I know that this is a series. I know that there's a second book, so I don't know why they had to rush so much towards the end of this book. I don't know if that was because it wasn't planned to be a series or anything, but I just felt like the quarter was a cop-out. Like, I loved everything that happened in the first 3/4 of the book. There was a mystery there was horror elements, the world building was really great. But yeah, I think the pacing was just really weird. Ending leaves a lot to be desired. The writing though, the writing is very, I don't know, I just ate up the writing, and the author does a good job at being very succinct, and it still reads beautifully, it's still very coherent. And yeah, I really appreciated that because sometimes authors just are so long-winded and they don't really have to be. This one, very succinct. I just really wish that the ending was a lot better. I gave this one 3.75. I will definitely read the sequel to it. It was a surprise book for me, and I'm glad that I had a lot of fun with it. House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. The next book that I read, I'm definitely not gonna talk too much about it, but I read the Four Horsemen series by Laura A. Thalassa. Now, I filmed a very long, very extensive, whatever, reading vlog for it. I will link it below. It's basically a spoiler reading vlog where you see me, live react to the book, and I had a lot of fun filming that. And also, it seems like you guys also really liked it because it is now my best video, and it's only been like a couple of days, and I'm so surprised. If you want me to do more of those, let me know below if you have suggestions for books that you want me to read and react to so that you don't have to. Very quickly, what is this book about? This is a dark fantasy romance where in each book we are following one horseman of the apocalypse as they journey to the end of the world to basically pass their judgment to humanity. They're basically killing everyone because we suck as humans. They meet someone that subverts all of their expectations and they fall in love, maybe? You're gonna have to watch the video to find out. But yeah, very quickly, my ratings for this book are for Pestilence, 3 stars, War, 4 stars, Famine, 4.25. I think I said this was 4 stars in the vlog, but I checked my story graph and apparently I upped it by 0.25, so it's 4.25 stars now. Death is 4 stars. I really had a good time reading this. You just want to scratch the itch of fantasy romance and you don't mind dark themes, definitely recommend the Four Horsemen series by Laura Thalassa. Now, the next book that I read, I was still, I guess, in that dark romance mood because I read the Mindfuck series by St. Abby. So this is actually 5 books, but each book is kind of like novella length, like 140 pages long. I ate this up, you guys. Like, I started reading it just because it was available on Kindle Unlimited, and I could not stop reading. I told my friend Pam from Pam Shenanigans and Kat from Kat on a Jellico that I started reading the first book, which is The Risk, because they read it first and they were recommending it to me. Almost like a full day after, I messaged them that I finished it. So in Mindfuck series, we are following 2 people. One is Lana. She is a serial killer. So this happens, guys, in the first chapter or so. It's not like a spoiler. She's a serial killer. And then she sort of meets this guy at a bar, Logan. Logan is an FBI profiler. And they start this sort of romance, but they're both living sort of double lives. Well, Lana's living a double life because she's a serial killer, but obviously she can't say that. And so, as their relationship progresses, we see Lana struggling with her double life. And it's just so funny because Logan is the FBI assigned to her case because he is in charge of violent crimes and serial killers and stuff. So, they're kind of playing this cat and mouse game where only one person knows that they're playing. So it's super addictive. It's not super realistic, honestly, but I still enjoyed it. I think it would do really great as a limited series TV show because each book is like an episode. It reads like an episode, it ends on a cliffhanger. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I really want to read more books like this. I really like the premise of the FBI agent and the serial killer dynamic. I don't know. I rated the books individually because I read them individually. So first one is The Risk, 4 stars, especially because, of the novelty of everything. Sidetrack, also 4 stars because there is some kind of angsty aspect to it, which I really enjoyed. Scarlet Angel, 3 stars. All the Lies, 3 stars. Paint It All Red, 3.5 stars. The last book, Paint It All Red, really pays homage to a lot of horror movies. So if you enjoy horror movies, I think you would find Paint It All Red super cheeky and enjoyable to read if you don't take it too seriously, okay? Don't take this book super seriously. So that is the Mindfuck series by St. Abby. Next one, took a break from all of the dark books. I read the 5th volume of Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo. Super cozy. I mean, at this point, I'm just reading this manga as a palate cleanser in between books because I love how just cozy everything is. And this one, I gave it 3.25 stars. The next book I read, I was a little hesitant to read because once I start reading this book, I know that I would have to really commit to a very, very big series, and that is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Yes, for the first time in my entire life, I am diving into the Shadowhunters universe. I've never read anything by Cassandra Clare, never read anything in the Shadowhunters universe, and I was just super curious. I got FOMO, honestly, with everyone posting their chain of whatever the last book was, Chain of Iron? Thorns? Whatever the last book was, everyone was posting about it. I wanted to read it, but I can't because I don't have all of the groundwork. So I decided to start from the beginning. I am reading everything in publication order, but I'm gonna start with all of the major releases first. And it's gonna be a journey. I don't know if I'm gonna make a specific video for it. I don't know yet. I just started it. So what do you think about City of Bones? Honestly, I was extremely bored by it. I was really pushing myself to finish it. A lot of people said that this isn't the best series of the best series from the Shadowhunters universe, and I can see that because it was just so boring. I don't know if it's because I'm a lot older now. This was written in 2007 with a young adult audience in mind, and I just found everything to be like the characters were the relationships between the characters were like super boring. Wasn't invested in anyone. There was a lot of info dumpy moments, and I think it was probably needed. I'm okay with that, honestly, if the characters would have been like a lot more interesting. They were just really super boring, and by the end of it I felt nothing. But I am continuing with it. I'm gonna persevere because I really have FOMO, so I'm gonna persevere. I gave City of Bones 2.5 stars. Hopefully it only goes up from here. Okay, the last book that I read is kind of a weird one. I read Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kalske. It is written solely in the form of Slack messages. If you don't know what Slack is, it's kind of like a messaging app, kind of like Discord, if you're familiar with that. It's kind of like that. Usually it's used for tech companies, marketing agencies to communicate within the company. The entire book is written through Slack. So the premise is that this guy is transported inside Slack, the app. So he is like communicating with his teammates from within Slack. His body is just like a catatonic, like zombie kind of thing situation, and they're all work from home. Well, no, they're partially work from home, they're partially in the office, and they just kept doing regular office things. And they're a marketing agency, so they're talking about like, oh, we need social postings for this campaign, oh, I need copywriting for this, I need graphics for this, and it's just so tongue-in-cheek, and I think it was really an unapologetic way of reflecting on how people work, how a lot of people's like personality, self-esteem is unfortunately tied to how well they do in work or how productive they are. And it kind of just explores that theme in a very weird and cheeky way, and I loved it so much. I gave this one 4 stars. If it was expanded further, it could have been like a very interesting contemporary sci-fi book. The person that was stuck in the Slack app was sort of starting to lose himself into the work, into being like a machine instead of a human. If that's not like a commentary on how overworked people can be and how much people tie their self-worth into their work, I don't know what is. That is Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kalske, and I highly recommend it. And there we have it. Those are all of the 19 books that I read for the month of February. That wasn't too bad. Like, I think I did a good job at being very concise. Thank you for hanging out with me today, letting me rave about all the books that I love and rant about the books that I didn't quite love. And if you have read any of the books that I've read and you have like a different opinion, let me know in the comments. I really love reading how other people rate the books that I've read. And as long as we keep it nice and respectful, I'm all for it. And yeah, thank you for being here. And if you just stumbled upon my channel and you enjoyed what you saw, then I hope you could subscribe to the channel or maybe click the like button. Say hi in the comments. Yeah, that is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!